Hi guys, welcome back. Episode 2 to Let's Talk About It with Courtney. I'm your host, Courtney Carroll. I'm still really nervous and excited to continue this journey with you guys. Okay, so as I was thinking about where do I start, we have my introduction out there. You kind of have a glimpse of who I am and what I do for work and kind of my goals and intentions for what's to come. I thought I would backtrack to introduce my private practice. And I'm proud of it. It's called Waymark Counseling. So let's talk about Waymark Counseling. Oh, so good. I'm excited to share with you guys. About 3 years ago, I was working at a great group practice and I was fully licensed at this point now. I just got my license a few months before I opened up my private practice. And I wasn't sure when I'd ever go out on my own. And I think a lot of therapists or associates of any type of work I do or similar, where it's kind of nice to have that safeguard of a group practice, mentors, supervisors behind you, or I guess in front of you, right? Because you're kind of hiding behind them. Again, you never know. And I certainly didn't know it was exactly the time it was. But I remember it was around Christmas, and again, about 3 years ago. Yeah. And I was starting to think, I think I'm ready. You know, my group practice was kind of going into a different direction, which is great. I wish nothing but the best to my old practice. And it started not feeling like home anymore, if I'm being honest. I had several conversations with my husband at the time and not really knowing when I would do it or how I would do it or what I would call my private practice. That's a big thing to do. How do I get myself out there? What does that look like? And I think I was talking with my ex and we were saying, I think it's time. And there's a lot more to that, of course. I really felt ready to step into my authentic self and really own what I do for work. And when you're in a group practice, it's not about you, it's about the group, let alone the owner. And as it should be, you work for them for a reason. It always made sense to me. But I was also getting really good numbers there. I had really good retainment. I loved my clients. And I was like, I think I can do this. And I was, of course, nervous. Who wouldn't it be? To bet on yourself? Yeah. And as my ex and I decided that it was time, he was getting ready for, I think, a deployment or something. And I would actually have some really, a lot of time to put forth effort into developing my practice. And as I navigated those waters, I'm sitting with him. I think we were on the couch at the time. And he's like, so what do you want to call it? I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to have your help. And we lived in a very big military community near Fort Bragg. We lived in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Love it, miss it. And he was very adamant about it not being a cliche military name. He's like, you cannot call it something so army that would be embarrassing. I just laughed. I'm like, well, I don't want it to be embarrassing. And where to start? And he's like, well, tell me what you do. At this time, I was really in depth with couples counseling. And couples counseling is magical. I love doing couples work. I don't see myself ever not doing it. And as I was telling him, well, when you're in it, and we've been in couples counseling, so he knows what I was talking about. We don't really hear each other, right? In fact, there's this, I feel compelled to tell you, there's this one story, backtracking side story. We were in a fight, and he's like, aren't you supposed to be good at this? Aren't you a therapist? Don't you work with couples? Meanest thing ever, by the way. Not a nice thing to say to your wife that's a therapist. And I remember saying, I'm not the therapist in this. I'm your wife. I am in this. I am in the trenches with you. I am not an unbiased party. I am Team Courtney, and you are Team you, ex-husband. Right? I'm in this. I have feelings. A great couples therapist doesn't have a big bias. They might have times where they agree with one more than the other, which, like they're human too, and they're helping fix these dynamics. And I'm like, no way. I'm in it. I'm not unbiased. And so fast forward, we're sitting on the couch, and I think I might have brought up that story. I'm like, do you remember saying that? And he did. And I'm like, couples are in the trenches together. If they're seeking out couples therapy, and I hate this, you guys, it's like over 90% where the couples that finally start couples therapy, marriage counseling, whatever the words are that fits the dynamics of your relationship, they're usually at the end of it. They're usually like grasping at straws, and it's like the Hail Mary. Man, do I wish that would change. And I'll get to that point later too. But you're usually a last-ditch effort as a couples therapist. They don't hear each other. They're out in the woods, in the trenches. Not only do they not hear each other, they don't see each other. Their emotions are high. They're big, as they should be in those dynamics. And I was saying, I think I'm like a navigator, or another word I like to tell couples in one of the first sessions is think of me as a translator. Y'all are speaking two different languages, and I'm here to translate. I'm bilingual, and y'all need to learn each other's language. And again, my ex is military, so I'm like, I think, like, does that make sense? And he's like, I think so. And he goes, well, then what happens? And I was like, well, I try to get them on the right track. I try to get them towards each other. I try teaching them each other's language. I translate, because they're hearing one thing, big emotions, their partner's mad at them, and really their partner's actually sad or upset or hurt or lonely, and they jump to conclusions. So I kind of say, well, this is actually what I'm hearing. I get them on the right track. And my ex is like, oh. And I said, I always like picture mountains and hiking and getting on the right track. He's like, yeah, that's making sense. And he still refused to call it compass counseling. And if you practice called compass counseling, I love it. I wanted it. Good for you. My ex said it wasn't for me. And it is what it is. So I'm not judging. If your practice is called counseling or compass anything, I am here for it. I wanted it. He's like, it can't be compass. Like, that's one, been done, and two, again, too military or too something for him. I'm like, okay. And this guy is like an expert navigator. Oh, he could get, I think it was how his dad raised him. He could literally find his way out of nowhere. It's impressive. I'm still amazed by it. And he's like, have you ever heard of a Waymark? I'm like, no, not really. What is a Waymark? He's like, you. I'm like, okay. What do I do? Pull out my phone, pull up Google, a Waymark, a symbol, sign that helps get on the right track, trail, fill in the word. I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I do. I feel good. And I like the idea that it's hiking, because I feel like we're making our way, we're making progress, we're working through things. And I was like, Waymark Counseling, I love it. I immediately filed for an LLC. I'm like, or PLLC, sorry. And I'm like, I love it. And again, I'm so grateful for that experience, to have a partner at that time to like walk me through and figure out names. And like, I loved that I had to explain what I did. So that's part of the episode too today. It's like, what do you do in that room? Why are you called Waymark Counseling? Because again, you're going to see a few businesses introduced to you by me, and my private practice is my baby. It is like it's like the beginning of my lotus flower, if you will. Like, it's important to me, and it's important that you know how I got to this place and where my journey took to. So as I was primarily focusing in couples and sex therapy, I was like, I need to help translate, because for so many times, I hear this all the time. I still will probably hear it for the rest of my life. My partner just wants sex from me. Oh, he's only doing something nice for me to have sex with me. My wife's not attracted to me. She flinches when I touch her. she must be talking to someone else. He must be talking to someone else. Well, if he's not happy or she's not happy, let them find someone else. I don't want to split up my family. But man, I'm just not happy. You know, if only he could just have whatever he wanted and I could just have whatever I wanted, and maybe we can work it out. And you guys, it's hard. If you're in couples counseling right now, I commend you. This work is hard. It is not for the faint of heart. Your couples therapist, good friend, good on you. There needs to be more of us. There's not enough. It's so easy to get divorced these days. And by the way, I'm a divorcee. I am not talking crap about anything. I own it. I am divorced. And it wasn't an option I would have picked if my life turned out differently. But you do need a partner that's willing to adapt, change, and take on those things with you. Unfortunately for me, my ex-husband wasn't doing that part. He wasn't willing to do the work with me. And that's kind of what erupted. And we're going to talk about my divorce later, but like I want you to know, it's very different starting couples counseling with two people that really want it. In fact, let's go there. One of the first questions that my experiences that I would ask is, how invested are y'all in fixing this? Because sometimes one person does not want to fix it and the other person does. And they don't want to be a bad guy. They don't, or she doesn't want to be a bad girl. She doesn't want to be the bad wife that didn't give it a try. Or what do we say to the kids if we didn't try everything? And by the way, I don't think that's ever going to be a regret. At least I would professionally say that. And personally, like, I'm glad I did the couples therapy. I'm glad I did my own individual counseling. I do not regret doing couples therapy with my ex-husband. I actually think it helped us immensely for the time we had together. And I love the idea. I don't care if this is like pompous or whatever the word is. Like, I love that I can tell my daughter I did try everything. And I think that's important. And I would assume he'd probably feel the same way. But what brings that couple into the room is not always the same intention and same goals. Sometimes they just want someone to let them translate that they're done. And if I learned someone's out the door and someone's in, I can't work with them. I can help them guide and I can help the person that's out tell the person, but that's about it. If I learn someone's completely out the door and the other person's thinking they're in, there's no hope for that. And if you're out there trying this work, make sure you're on the same page. And be honest with your partner. They deserve that. It's an expensive investment into therapy. And that doesn't mean if you're not as invested that that doesn't mean you can't buy in later. It's just being honest. You want to be honest in couples therapy. But going back, that is what I focused on when I opened my private practice. And then as I grew and developed my own skills and my own life experiences, and then going through divorce, I had clients that I had been seeing that went through divorce. And then shortly, probably about 7 months after my practice was born or put out there, and I betted on myself and went in, I was going through divorce. And all of a sudden, these clients and I are learning these hard roads together, and we're having different conversations. And what I love is, like, they were always authentic. We don't like sugarcoat it. Divorce is hard. Like, losing the love of your life, even if they're just a chapter of your life, like, that's real. And I learned, not only do I love couples work, I am supposed to work with divorced people or divorced people going through things too. And what some people say, I'm just a couples therapist or I'm just an individual therapist. I think that's when, like, the game changed for me. I'm like, I do both. I should help people be aligned on what they really want. And once you are aligned and you know what you're doing and you're choosing, say, I'm going to be single, I'm getting a divorce, or I'm all in, I want to work on this. My job is the Waymark. How do I get you on the right path that you want? It is not my path. Some crazy thing people think, I don't go into sessions with a plan. Some people do. There's amazing techniques and theories and approaches that have a game plan. I do not. If I have not seen my client in a week or two, I do not know what I am going to do in that session. If I see a couple, I'm like, I don't know if they fought. I don't know how that family evening went, like Christmas. I never know how holidays go for my clients until I see them. So I never had like a planned approach. Before session, I set my intentions to help them in their highest and best, and to be the best support system I can, to be their Waymark, to help them get on whatever path they want and focus on their journey, not mine. It's why I won't record, at least in my own career. When you're an associate, you do have to record sessions with permission, of course. It's why I won't record sessions. It's why I won't show sessions. I won't follow a specific protocol to get me fully licensed or credentialed with a certain practice like sex therapy, EFT, motion focused therapy, because I feel like if I did that, I would be the one in charge of the session, and that's not my role. My role is to be their Waymark. I'm there to help them to get on their path, not mine. So I just never felt authentic to just go with a protocol. At this point in my career, I trust my instincts. I'm good at what I do. I trust that whatever shows up in that room, I am prepared to help with. And whether that's helping a couple translate while they're in the depth of the trenches and being their voice and communicating what's actually being said versus like our defense and our proactiveness of response, that I help them breathe, step in, breathe, and take a step back, like active listening versus active responding. That's huge. And get on the same page. My goal is always to at least leave the session in a calmer state. It's not always going to be perfect, and I let that idea go a long time ago. But if you're a therapist and you're listening, or if you're a client and you're like, therapy doesn't always end well. Sometimes I don't feel good after therapy. Why? Maybe you need another session, right? Couples work, especially couples, like it's not always going to end with a bow. It would be nice if I could guarantee that. I try, but sometimes sessions end not great, and the answer is why? Why? Like, what's next? Sometimes it's me booking an extra session that week. You can book with your therapist more than one session a week. Sometimes I'm like, I have a next client. I can't extend this session. Can we see each other tomorrow, the next day, next week? But again, going back to Waymark Counseling, it's my role is to help people get on the right path, their own path. It is not Courtney Carroll's path. It is not my approach. It's literally helping them find themselves, finding alignment, communication, and to get to a point where I kind of set you up to do it later. That's always my goal. Like, I love my clients, but it's not to hold them forever. It's to get them to the point where they know their own path. And whether we just start seeing each other quarterly or once a month or whatever that means, it changes. So as you're cruising through and you're getting to know me and the introduction of this episode 2 of my private practice and like what I do in the room, that's just kind of a glimpse of what I do. And it's, again, I want to reiterate, I don't plan my sessions. I don't. I want to be very honest about that. Some counselors can. I'm not one of them. I want my clients to show up as their authentic self, whatever's going on. That's important. I'm not going to go back to trauma from 10 years ago that we were talking about last session if they're actively fighting with their spouse or their parent, or their kids failing school, or someone, like, something pops up that I do present processing. And what do? We jump in. We say, let's talk about it. We can always go back to whatever happens before if it's important later. But being authentic and showing up in the room and welcoming whatever happens and comes at me is the only way I know how to do it. And again, every therapist is going to do it differently. So again, if you're listening, what is Waymark Counseling? Who is this girl? We're still getting to know each other. This is just an idea of introducing what I do for my primary practice. Like, this is how I provide for my daughter and my life and my private practice. Again, it's my baby. And going back to the last episode, I kind of gave you an idea, like, how did this expand to this? If I don't start with Waymark Counseling, I can't explain what's next, because it's in those moments with clients where we are having breakthroughs, where I've had clients not have sex for years and now they're having sex. And then like a fight that's resolved, creating boundaries for your family and actually having it work. And then it works with them because they're choosing to actively work outside of the room. And I will be very honest, and I want to say it clear. When I was a young therapist, I never thought I wasn't responsible for all of my clients and all the time. At my current age and where I know I am only responsible for the hour I have, the 50 minutes. It's 50 minutes. Unless they pay for more time, I am only responsible for that hour. What my client does outside of that 50 minutes is none on me. They have to actively choose to implement what we talk about to have results. And I cannot own or think I'm a bad therapist or whatever else because they did not do that. So again, if you're a therapist, you cannot own the other work. You can't. And if you're in the couple session, you have to do the work outside of the room. I'm giving you lessons. I'm giving you clues, like a date night. Let's talk about sex. Like, you have to be able to apply it. Are you really doing that? Because it's not wasted time. I love that time regardless of the application of it. But it's, what do you do outside of that hour? It's like training. If you're into working out, do you get fit? Do you build muscle? Do you do all these things in one session? No, you're sore as shit. Sorry for the language. You probably don't want to go back to the gym a couple days later. But you keep going back at it, get more reps in, start building strength, and then it gets better. Which goes back to what I was going to say earlier, is then as marriages and relationships, sex lives, everything's getting better. We're living in authenticity. Courtney, I just think you would be so helpful to my friends. Are you sure I can't refer to my friend? I've heard New York, Pennsylvania, oh my gosh, all over the Midwest, Texas, other countries like Greece. Can you please just help my friend, help my family member? They're noticing the work we do. Like, can you help? And it broke my heart most of the time because I had to say no. Sorry, I'm not licensed there. I don't have reciprocity there. Even in the pandemic, we weren't supposed to really expand our states. Very, very rarely do we get permission from another state without being fully licensed there. And it's not for you to do the math, but it's expensive, and testing and everything else to keep so many licenses. And honestly, I think it's a detriment to mental health care. That I wish there was a one fee to the government and you let us work in any state we want to so we can see our clients, whether they travel or whatever. But oftentimes I'd have to say no. And that's exactly why I started with Waymark Counseling as the second episode, because why did I create Let's Talk About It, Courtney? It's so that we can talk about those things in a way where everyone can hear. It's also why I'm expanding my business. I briefly mentioned it last episode, but I am officially expanding my business to coaching. Coaching has a lot of different rules, regulations, very different. I am completely keeping my private practice. I am always going to keep that. And again, licensed in Washington State and North Carolina. And therapy is therapy, and that's for that. But coaching, I'm like, I want to coach. I want to start this podcast. I want to do things. How do I help everyone? How do I help my clients' friends, their family? I have to treat it a little bit differently. And first it was the podcast. That's like, I got to do that. I want to start the podcast. That way, at least I can share the hard topics and everything that goes on into the therapy room. And hopefully that just helps. And then the coaching business, I'm calling it alignment coaching with Courtney Carroll. And just getting in alignment, knowing that everything we've gone through has brought us to this point in your life and where you're at today. And what do you want to do about it? What do you want? That's not just therapy. That's a coaching technique. It is coming into your own space, your own person. And I'd love to help you with that. Links are in the bio. You have them. There's no pressure. I will continue each episode to bring up a different part of who I am. And I hope that it connects with you in some way. And again, it's been such an honor to even starting this thing with you. And I'm excited to keep it going, to keep talking about it. And thank you for giving me the time to introduce my private practice, my baby Lotus. And next episode, we're going to talk about more. So until then, have a great day, guys. I'll talk soon.